of the nations of the world who hate Johnny, presented by Eva. United States, Canada, Mexico, Panama, Haiti, Jamaica, Peru, Republic Dominican, Cuba, Caribbean, Greenland, El Salvador, Puerto Rico, Colombia, Venezuela, Honduras, Guyana, and still Guatemala, Bolivia, then Argentina, and Ecuador, Chile, Brazil, Costa Rica, Belize, Nicaragua, Bermuda, Bahamas, Tobago, San Juan, Paraguay, Uruguay, Suriname, and French Guiana, Barbados, and Guam. Norway and Sweden and Iceland and Finland and Germany now one piece. Switzerland, Austria, Czechoslovakia, Italy, Turkey and Greece. Poland, Romania, Scotland, Albania, Ireland, Russia, Oman. Bulgaria, Saudi Arabia, Hungary, Cyprus, Iraq and Iran. There's Syria, Lebanon, Israel, Jordan, both Yemen, Kuwait and Bahrain. The Netherlands, Luxembourg, Belgium and Portugal, France, England, Denmark and Spain.
In the anime underworld, crimes against the culture are considered especially heinous. In Otaku City, the dedicated detectives who investigate these violations are part of an elite squad known as the Special Weeb Unit. These are their stories.
You are coping the ceiling. You just can't believe what you're seeing. Yes, you're coping the ceiling, but your feet is all day, and now you are molding. You're coping so hard. Coping your ceiling.
Why, hello there. Oh my god, it wasn't muted or anything. But I am slightly off kilter. Hold on, that's... Okay, there was a minimal amount of scuff. Look at that, a minimal amount of scuff, guys. How is it going, everybody? I hope you're having a lovely Tuesday afternoon, or wherever you be. Let's go ahead and bring some people into the chat. So, Mitskittles, Magma Fox, Dopdet, Francis, Karma, Quafios, X13D, Min Max, Sinark, JP Ravenfire, Death the Goat, Francis Karma, welcome to the chat. I already said Francis Karma. I don't know why I always do that with that word specifically. Captain Spire, welcome. Okay, so we have a lot of stuff to react to. Don't worry about me reacting to any other current VTuber drama going on. I will be reacting to that on other mediums and other people's streams. Yeah, so there's a lot to go over with all of that. Not a whole lot of legal stuff now. There's a couple moments that's gotten near the line, but that'll be discussed when it's discussed. Instead, we're going to focus on like some Lawtube stuff and things like that, including a little bit of a bombshell that happened in the Logan Paul versus Coffeezilla case. Apparently, some text messages exposing that Logan Paul literally is only suing to make people suffer and stuff like got out somehow. I believe Legal Bites covers that, and that is one of the videos on the docket today. J Zilla Productions 2004, welcome. Nitterground, also welcome. Ryan Fan. Hey y'all. Death alone, Goaty Goat. Peppy, hello. I am doing well. I wish I had Monster. But that's okay. We have crazy videos to react to, so that will fuel me. Or at least it freaking better. Shit. So the first video that we're going to be looking at today is called YouTuber is facing 5 years in prison for disturbing an isolated tribe. I am almost positive this is referring to the isolated tribe in North Sentinel Island. They're called the North Sentinel Islanders. They are a uncontacted group of tribals that are they are still so untouched. They don't seem to know how to make fire. What they do is they wait for lightning or something to strike the island, and then they just keep that fire going. Maybe they've learned in the years or something, but I remember researching this island extensively, and these guys are so uncontacted, it's ridiculous. So that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. This one's only about 11 minutes long, and it's from Atozy. Don't forget to subscribe, like his stuff. It's lovely. Okay, so here we go. I have a monster, Valentino Rosie, the doctor. Hypnotic and Rapture, welcome. Why do they feel the need to go? Honestly, I don't know. I can give a little bit of history, actually, real quick, though. This isolated tribe was contacted once before, back during, the British times, like, when they were actually colonizing and expanding, and they were, like, the largest empire on the planet at the time. One of their ways of colonizing an area, introducing themselves to a, primitive people, is they would either kidnap or convince the tribe or the village or what have you to let them take one of the people. Then they take one of the people, they fucking spoil the absolute shit out of them. Okay? I mean, we're talking like check out this plain water whenever you want it, all kinds of crazy food, dresses, clothes, fucking metal better than you've ever seen, swords, weapons, fucking. So they spoil the shit out of the person for a while, and then they take the person back to the tribe. That person is now free to tell his tribe of all the amazing things the British Empire has. And so the tribe lets them in and lets them bring that greatness to and there you go, and then you colorize. That's how it works. Something went wrong on North Sentinel Island. See, what happened on North Sentinel Island was very unique. They managed to get a chieftain's daughter, I believe. I might be wrong on this. I'm just going from memory. It's been a hot minute. But they got a chieftain's daughter, and she got sick. She died of smallpox or some kind of disease. Yeah, that pretty much shut down all hyper-friendly relations with outsiders on this island, period. Because once she died, they're like, okay, fuck all you guys. We're completely isolated. And so since then, this tribe has been more or less extremely hostile to any attempts to contact them, and I believe it was sometime in the mid-1900s that it was actually made illegal to travel to this island. This island might sound familiar to some people because during COVID, a pastor tried to fucking beat a fisherman to make him land on this island, and he was going to fucking sermon in mission on this island, and they ripped him apart and killed him immediately. So, that is what happened. So, that being said, let's go ahead and see what YouTuber is facing 5 years in prison for disturbing. And I mean, he's lucky to be alive. I'm surprised he is alive. That being said, let's do this.
This YouTuber has just been arrested and is facing 5 years in prison after disturbing a restricted island and violating international law. All to film content and leave this ancient remote tribe a can of Coke. Ladies and gentlemen, we might have a new contender for the Hall.
What? Are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? Holy shit. this YouTuber fucking tried to leave them a can of Coca-Cola. Fan taking welcome to the chat. Aluminum pacifist. Wanamanotone. Offering welcome. Colonization rule. Hey, did wanna buy some metal knives? Just grow us some on this coast so we can sell it to Chinese. No. Oh my god. Okay, hold on. We gotta go back here. I'm sorry, that was Jesus fucking Christ.
This YouTuber has just been arrested and is facing 5 years in prison after disturbing a restricted island and violating international law. All to film content and leave this ancient remote tribe a can of Coke. Ladies and gentlemen, we might have a new contender for the Hall of Fame of complete morons.
An American tourist has been arrested for allegedly traveling to a restricted reserve on a remote island and leaving behind a can of Coke as an offering for the world's most isolated tribe to try. Mikhailo Viktorovich Polyakov was arrested in India's Andaman and Nicobar Islands.
Okay, is this all we have? Like, cause I'm not a fan of AI. So, that being said, let's go ahead and just watch it. The guys must, did this happen though?
After he allegedly visited a prohibited tribal...
And I'm sorry, but if that's literally the premise of the movie, the gods must be crazy, then what happened is they basically took from what happened to North Sentinel Island. Look up the history of North Sentinel Island. Not even a Dr. Pepper. A Dr. Pepper would have been better. Oh, Piotr, thank you so much for the one, gifted member. Vodabomb, thank you, for the membership.
...reserve on North Sentinel Island without authorization.
So apparently we're doing this for content.
Oh, they had an okay. Oh. Wait a minute, isn't that... I think I remember that movie. Like, when I was really little, I think my dad really likes that movie. Is that an older movie? Like 70s, 80s, I think, maybe? Maybe older than... I don't know. I know my dad really likes that movie.
Now. Well, that's a nightmare of an island that has for some reason attracted the wildest form of unwanted tourism. Now, including Mikhailo Polyakov, a 24-year-old American YouTuber known for thrill-seeking adventure vlogs, and now for violating...
Thank you so much, Magmafox, for the contribution to them. And look at that, my throne is actually working. Holy shit. How cool is that? Oh my god, I'm so... Sorry. The throne has not worked in a hot minute and is actually working. That's so cool. 1980. Wow, that is an old-ass movie.
International law. He goes by the Neo-Orientalist on YouTube and has a few thousand subscribers, and is currently making headlines for illegally landing on the North Sentinel Island, home to the famously...
Yeah, no, I knew it. I fucking knew it. Ha! They're the only, real, not, completely isolated island tribe left. So, if you talk about an isolated island tribe, it's North Sentinel Island.
Acted Sentinelese tribe. You know, the people who've made it extremely clear that they want nothing to do with the outside world. Like, arrow to the head, level of clear.
Tucked away in the picturesque waters of the Bay of Bengal exists a tiny island that has captured imaginations for centuries. But its beauty as a tropical paradise is not what has garnered attention. Rather, it is the often violent, uncontacted tribe that calls the island home. For most, this island is a window into the past and an opportunity to understand how ancient people lived. But for some, this island has become their final resting place.
No, it's good.
Well, what did Polyakov actually do? He showed up to Point Blair, the capital of the Andaman of the Nicobar Islands, with the camera, an inflatable boat, and apparently zero regard for history or laws. On March 29th,
shit.
Whoever break laws in countries that have off solo on his boat, which, by the way, I guess is the YouTube version of Hold My Beer. After a 9-hour journey, he reached the northeastern shore of the North Sentinel Island, ready to go full Columbus, but instead of smallpox and holy crosses, he brought a Diet Coke and a coconut. Not even a full meal. Just a weird snack combo and a whistle. Come on, dude. And with this whistle, he tried to get the tribe's attention. And obviously, blowing a whistle at an uncontacted tribe, I guess that's how you get a collaboration invite.
Polyakov spent roughly an hour blowing a whistle from his inflatable boat in hopes of drawing attention to himself, but received no response. He landed on the island for roughly 5 minutes, during which he collected samples, recorded a video, and left behind a can of soda and a coconut as offerings for the Sentinelese tribe.
I feel like the ingredients of a Diet Coke would probably burn a hole in the tribe's stomach, man. Like, let's just let's chill
for
here.
Real.
Let's not leave that for them. But thankfully, he didn't make contact. For his own sake, but also he did collect some sand, film on the beach, and then I guess peaced out like it was some regular beach day. Mission Trespass on Sacred Land is complete, but here's the plot twist. Back on the mainland, some local fishermen saw what he was up to and reported him. Polyakov was arrested on March 31st, now faces multiple charges, including violation under India's Foreigners Act and tribal protection laws. If convicted, he's looking at up to 5 years in Indian prison, which is a pretty steep price for a simple vlog title. Why are some influencers committing crimes in countries where you would never ever
but
want
honestly,
to go to prison?
he should get. I mean, look, like seriously. Billy Donuts, welcome to the channel. Thank you for the donuts. Jack Miha, Jack. Okay, I almost said it. Fuck you, dude. Oh my god, dude. Seriously, I almost said it. Oh my god. Wait. There we go. Jack. How dare you have that name? And how dare you almost get... I literally... Ooh, it was so close. It was so fucking close. The fucking cat...
I mean, we should invite.
Polyakov spent roughly an hour.
Let's chill here. Let's not leave that for them. But thankfully, he didn't make contact. For his own sake, but also he did collect some sand, film on the beach, and then I guess peaced out like it was some regular beach day. Mission Trespass on Sacred Land is complete, but here's the plot twist. Back on the mainland, some local fishermen saw what he was up to and reported him. Polyakov was arrested on March 31st, now faces multiple charges, including violation under India's Foreigners Act and tribal protection laws. If convicted, he's looking at up to 5 years in Indian prison, which is a pretty steep price for a simple
I don't know
vlog
why.
title.
I think you should be able to. I don't know why someone couldn't clip. All that stuff is open.
Why are some influencers committing crimes in countries where you would never ever want to go to prison in? I mean, we just covered Vitaly. Why would you ever break laws in countries that have prisons that look like this? But also, honestly, the amount of time sounds a little short for what he actually did. Because let's be real, what he did wasn't brave. This is just incredibly reckless. Indigenous groups, legal experts, and common sense all agree that you don't mess with the Sentinelese. Not because they're scary, well, they are as well, but because we are. We carry diseases that they've never been exposed to. Contact could wipe them out, like it did so many other tribes throughout history. But you know, for the sake of this video, let's put all the dangers to the tribe aside. Let's put all the international law to the side. Let's just say, this is an extremely stupid move considering how multiple journalists, missionaries, and many more have died for attempting to do this exact thing. So, for those who don't know, let me break down what this island is and why this tribe has a history of people needing to stay far away from it. Alright, picture this, a beautiful tropical island straight out of a travel brochure, white sand, blue water, lush jungle, and if you step foot on it, you might get hit with an arrow.
Hey, you. You're that IRL streamer, aren't you? I used to do content like you.
Are you fucking kidding me?
This is exactly where all those Skyrim guards went. So, welcome to North Sentinel Island, where the local vibe is no visitors ever. It's home to the Sentinelese, possibly the last uncontacted tribe on Earth. And when I say uncontacted, I mean they've been ghosting humanity for thousands of years. These people are the real-life version of hardcore Minecraft. They're like that tribal YouTube channel that went like super viral for building crazy stuff with mud, but minus the excavators because, you know, they were also exposed for that. So while neighboring islands have been colonized, developed, and turned into places where you can probably get Wi-Fi and an overpriced smoothie, North Sentinel Island have stayed essentially stuck in time on purpose. They basically told the rest of the world that they don't want any technology. No thank you. The first time they were caught on camera, you could literally see them try to put arrows through the people filming.
At last, the first glimpse of the Sentinelese. This tribe believes in total isolation. It will not tolerate a stranger.
As is obvious in the footage, the tribe had no interest in making friends, and rather buried half of the gifts they'd been given before shooting arrows toward the film crew.
A member of our film unit was wounded by one of the many arrows, each 2.5 meters long.
So either Mikhailo saw this, did his research beforehand and said, screw it, a 2.5 meter arrow, that ain't that bad. Or he didn't prepare for this trip at all. But I have a feeling he kind of did, because he showed up with a coconut. And we will learn later on that the only contact that humans have had that has been a positive contact with this island has been because they were bribing them with coconuts. But if it was up to me, one simple Google search would that would make my mind up. I wouldn't go. Took me 15 seconds to realize I would never want to go to that island.
Tribe involving a coconut is not enough. I mean, it's not enough to make me pull. They want to talk. It's fine. Here, do always Coca-Cola. Like, come on, like what the. And you fucking, this video of trespassing on this isolated tribe is brought to you by Coca-Cola.
That there's a very big difference in how normal people operate and think compared to the people that I normally cover here on this channel. There's a very big difference. Well, the first real sighting of this island came in 1771 when a British ship spotted flickers of fire on shore, probably cooking dinner. Or prepping the arrows. Hard to say. But things got real in the 1890s when an escaped prisoner washed up on the island. Search parties went to look for him and they found him full of arrows. Definitely not a warm welcome. That's more like get off my lawn, but in a really intense way.
I remember hearing about that.
Fast forward to the 1960s, Indian anthropologists decided to go play National Geographic and roll up with boats full of gifts, coconuts, metal tools, plastic stuff, basically just this weird early version of an Amazon delivery. First visit, nobody home. The tribe, I guess, just dipped into the jungle, left their huts, fires, and food behind like you weren't invited. But then came this rare moment of success in the 90s, where an anthropologist named Madhumala Chattopadhyay oh no.
Wow, that's a
name.
An
anthropologist named this joined the crew. First woman to try, by the way, and the team floated this.
Okay, Madhumala, yeah. Okay, so Madhumala, gosh, okay. Chattopadhyay? Maybe? I'm not sure.
Joined the crew.
I tried.
First woman to try, by the way, and the team floated coconuts towards the beach. And the Sentinelese actually came out to grab them. I mean, one guy even checked out the boat like he was browsing a used car lot. So that was cool because it was calm, peaceful, no one got stabbed. Great. But the next visit, things escalated. Because since 1996, it's been straight up illegal to go anywhere near this North Sentinel island. The law says don't go within 3 nautical miles unless you're trying to get featured in some news headline saying tourist impaled by dozens of arrows on this remote island. And that's exactly what happened to some fishermen.
2 men aged 48 and 52 were fishing for mud crabs near the island. However, the pair got so drunk that while sleeping, the anchor of the boat, which was a rock tied to a rope, fell apart and drifted the men toward North Sentinel. The following morning, fellow fishermen said they tried to shout at the men and warn them that they were in danger. However, they did not respond. They were probably drunk, and the boat drifted into the shallows where they were attacked and killed.
Yeah. That's a rough fishing spot. You go out to fish and get a little drunk.
Okay, so I'm going to say, probably from the only positive interaction with this tribe that humanity has had was when a woman arrived with food. And I'm going to tell you right now, it was probably because it was a woman who arrived either with very few men or like, you know what I mean? Because fishermen, 2 men, fuck you. You're not even of any use. But I think the only reason why that interaction was positive is because it involved a woman.
And you end up in the worst possible spot ever. But recently, this also happened to another American tourist in 2018. Enter John Allen Cho, a 26-year-old missionary, adventurer, and how do I put it, a guy with a terrible plan. Because I guess he hired a fisherman to smuggle him to the island because he wanted to convert the Sentinelese
I thought that was in COVID
to Christianity.
That happened. That sounds like the right one, but I thought that was... Well, I guess I was wrong on the date.
Which is
2018.
A very bold move. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised the Jehovah's Witness hasn't tried this yet. But I guess that just goes to show you that some front lawns can't even be passed by a Jehovah's Witness. But this guy actually wrote in his diary, "My name is John, I love you and Jesus loves you." And the Sentinelese were like, "Cool story, here's an arrow." Apparently even his Bible was hit with an arrow. And according to the people from his mission, this wasn't like John just got up and decided to do this on a whim. he tried to prepare for this.
Although, according to the head of the mission he was working for, John was significantly more prepared. All Chow's decisions, including his studies of sports science and training and working as a wilderness emergency medical technician, and classes he took in linguistics and cultural anthropology, were in preparation to share Jesus with the North Sentinelese. He was very well prepared for this moment.
This guy
So he was as prepped for this as a person, I guess, could be, and still it ended very badly. Almost like this shouldn't be attempted no matter what you try to do. The actual breakdown of what happened to John happened over 3 days. Day
It's
one,
always a Jehovah's Witness. Look, you can now literally prove that a Jehovah's Witness, there is no doorbell left unturned. This guy literally went and knocked on the doorbell of an uncontacted tribe. Like, holy shit. Talk about dedication, brah.
paddled over in a kayak carrying fish, gifts, and a Bible. When he got near the beach, the Sentinelese shot arrows at him, including one from a kid that nailed his waterproof Bible. And listen, if a child shoots an arrow through your scripture, that's probably your divine sign to turn around. But did Chow leave? No, of course not. He tried again. This time he wrote in his journal, "God, if you want me to be killed, so be it." Dude, if you believe in God, you can also argue that God gave you a brain to avoid this. But on day 3, the fisherman watched from a distance as the Sentinelese dragged his body across the sand and buried it. John Allen Cho was killed, just like nearly every person before him who tried to enter this island without permission. So, why all the secrecy? Why the arrows? Well, again, beyond protecting their culture, there's a very real risk. The Sentinelese have zero immunity to common diseases, and even a cold could wipe them out. So yes, going there could literally be fatal to them and to you. I mean, even a Diet Coke could kill them, but I don't know. The point is, none of us know. A random YouTuber like Mikalo for sure doesn't know. And at the end of the day, North Sentinel isn't a lost island. It's not a mystery to solve. It's a community that just wants to be left alone. And honestly, you should kind of respect that. Now, let's be real. If the first 5 arrows landing right next to you won't, maybe the 6th will. Now, Mikalo is currently detained in India and is due back in court on April 17th. But honestly, this was the best case scenario for something as stupid as this, because he didn't actually manage to make contact with them. He got arrested instead of dying in some horrific way, and he will likely get to enjoy the rest of his life without it ending with like 80 million arrows in himself. But guys with live streams and cameras, we gotta chill. Whether you're in Japan or Korea, streaming in public in New York City, or just trying to go to an internationally restricted island, respect the boundaries. The Sentinelese, they don't want followers, they're not interested in your clout, and they definitely don't want your can of Diet Coke. But at least he didn't live stream himself driving into a store to simply see what would happen like this guy did. So you can check out that video right here. And other than that, if you're new here, feel free to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next.
Alright, my god, that was wild. I'm not gonna lie, like, Jesus. Crazy. Okay, let's do this. Make sure I'm not missing any chats or anything. Cool beans, full beans. Okay, why didn't he just put up by one the coconut yet? That's funny. Oh god, it's funny. We should show the North Sentinel Islanders what a VTuber is. Okay, so we have another one a little more serial. It comes from the civil rights lawyer. This is entitled, this got me interested because people know what my background in law was, specifically as minors counsel. So parents call 911 for ambulance, but cops show up first. Deputy resigns, a lawsuit results. I don't think this kid or this person, I don't think the parent's offspring is like a legal minor. I think they might be an adult. But we're gonna see what happened. I'm guessing, and this is just a cold guess, if they gave enough information over 911 about who they were and stuff to prep the ambulance, make things go smoothly like that, it might have pinged back that this guy had a warrant out for his arrest, which is why the cops might have tried to show up first. That's just a guess, though. Let's go ahead and get into it and see what goes on.
You think anything about this is okay right now?
Imagine as a parent that you call 911 asking for an ambulance because your son needs help.
I'm trying to call an ambulance. Do I have to call the hospital?
No, sir. We dispatched an ambulance. What do you got?
It's my son.
Okay.
But instead of an ambulance, cops arrive instead without an ambulance. Why? Because the cops have a warrant for the son.
Oh,
It's this one, right?
I fucking knew it! I fucking knew it!
And as soon as the cops
Holy
get there,
shit.
instead of medical treatment, the son gets immediately tased.
What?
I didn't even know this at the
Hey,
time, but apparently
holy
just
shit.
days after I posted the video 2 years ago,
Dude, what
they
the
completely got rid of this guy. Whether he resigned or he was fired, I don't know. Scratch that one down as yet another
Dude,
example.
the cop just walked in and tased the guy. He literally, holy shit, can we go back? I'm sorry, we gotta see it. He just walked through the house, turned and tased the dude.
Treatment, the son gets immediately tased. I didn't even know this at the time, but apparently just days after I posted the video 2 years ago,
What
they
the
completely got rid of this guy. Whether he resigned or he was fired, I don't know. Scratch that one down as yet another example of YouTube taking down one of the bad apples. Did he pop up somewhere else? I'll tell you what I know. A civil lawsuit was filed, and just recently it was settled.
Okay.
Let me know in a comment what you think. How much do you think this case actually settled for at the end of the day?
Oh god, I have no idea. I mean, shit.
This
That
happened
was
back on June
pretty
18th of
egregious.
2021. This was in Union County, Illinois, involving the Union
Okay,
County
an
Sheriff's
Illinois
Department.
case?
On June 18th of that year, Jacob's father called 911 seeking an ambulance for his son. He was suffering a mental illness emergency due to the unfortunate meth addiction that he had at the time. And at that time, he was a very...
Okay, Jesus. God damn it. So what you're telling me is this person was experiencing meth-induced psychosis. That's what that sounds like to me. Let's see what's going on.
small, perhaps slight 27-year-old man who had suffered from long-term drug use and mental illness. He was at his home in Jonesboro, Illinois. This is only 1 block away from the Union County Sheriff's Department building and 1 block away from where ambulances are dispatched to citizens in need. Even though Jacob's father called for an ambulance never arrived. Here's the actual 911 call, where Jacob's father was told that an ambulance would be dispatched.
911, what's your emergency?
I'm trying to call an ambulance. Do I have to call the hospital?
No, sir. We dispatched an ambulance. What do you got?
It's my son. He's psychotic right now. He's in a psychotic state.
Okay.
He had a relapse about a couple weeks ago, and he just...
Oh my God. Jesus Christ. I'm sorry. I promise I did not pre-watch this. I just heard mental health emergency involving a meth addiction that almost always equals meth-induced psychosis.
He's going nuts.
But instead, several law enforcement officers arrived, including Sheriff Harville, Chief Wilkins, and Deputy Schildknecht. Still, 2 years later, no idea if I pronounced that correctly. All 3 of those cops knew that Jacob was reported to be having a mental health breakdown. Basically, the call was that he needed emergency medical assistance. The deputy admits in his report that Jacob was having a mental health crisis. That's why he was there. He noted that he received a report that Jacob was having a mental health crisis, described as psychotic, and that an ambulance was needed. He then wrote, "I also knew that Jacob had a felony warrant, as well as a history of running away naked from help when we arrived." All the cops present knew, or should have known, that the felony warrant that existed was not for a dangerous or serious criminal offense. In fact, they were the police department that requested the issuance of the warrant. And for similar reasons, these cops also knew that Jacob was not even aware of the fact that a warrant had been issued. So Jacob had no idea the cops would be coming to arrest him for any warrant. Upon arriving on the property, the deputy contacted the individuals who were at the residence, and they indicated that Jacob was in the backyard of the home.
It's this one, right? Right here? Shut up, Todd. That one?
I don't know.
Yeah, they could have.
Sheriff's
We're
office.
seeing what's going on.
When Deputy Schildknecht approached Jacob, he just instantaneously fired his taser at Jacob.
That's what I saw. Let's see that.
Yep.
Oh my god, you instantly. Jesus fucking Christ.
Oh.
Thank you. Oh,
He wrote in
oh
his
my
report
god.
that he allowed the taser to run for the 5-second cycle until Sheriff Harville could get there to assist. Jacob's friends and neighbors looked on and
Dude, there wasn't even a word spoken. He walked through that door to what looked like a little backyard patio area. And he just fucking, I mean, that was like a quick draw. Like, he literally just fucking flipped that out. But like, Jesus, dude, no words, no nothing. You just went through the fucking door and tased the guy. You can't do that.
as he writhed
Holy
on the ground
shit.
in pain after being tased while he's screaming out in just excruciating pain. Deputy Schildknecht's report admits that he tased Jacob in the back as Jacob turned to run away. The deputy mentions no immediate safety threat as being the basis for this use of force. As I walked through the residence and came to the side door, Jacob saw me, turned and began to run away from me. At this point, I raised and fired my taser at him as he ran away. I was unable to issue a warning to him because the situation evolved so quickly. None of the law enforcement officers had announced their presence, nor the reason for their presence. They had not identified themselves or mentioned why they were there or that they had a warrant. After they tased him, the cops discuss whether or not they're going to allow Jacob to ride in the ambulance or whether they're going to take him in the police car, which is ultimately what happened.
Oh, that's not here. We'll take it. No, if it's Jacobs, it's going into evidence. Did you grab that taser, Scott? Yeah, it's a taser. We're grabbing it. It's not okay. You think anything about this is okay right now? All right. All right.
Double meanings in words, guys. That's fucking wild.
We can't.
Because they're going to have to. I know. Let's get the ambulance service up to the office.
We ought to just take him to the hospital, Scott. We don't want to fight him in the back of an ambulance.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm trying to be a dick, but
Okay, so they take him to the hospital and the cruiser. That makes sense.
County K-911.
When the deputy asked, "Do you think anything about this is okay right now?" that actually aged pretty well, because nothing about it was okay. But before I posted this footage on the internet, nothing had been done about it. According to the lawyer who handled the civil lawsuit, he wrote, "The deputy resigned shortly after the incident was exposed on the popular website The Civil Rights Lawyer." The post generated hundreds of online comments, many expressing outrage over the deputy's tase first, ask questions later approach. Nevertheless, the defendants denied any connection between the deputy's resignation and the website post. According to the deputy, he was not disciplined for the incident. So he resigned after I posted the video. In fact, looking at government payroll records, I can't see where this particular deputy has been given any sort of a government salary while working as a police officer. And I found no record of him working anywhere else. So I'll scratch that one down as yet another example of YouTube taking down one of the bad apples.
Yeah, he's actually gone.
None
That's
of
nice.
the supervisors or
Oh, thank you
elected
so
sheriffs
much, Mercenary, for the
or
two.
county commissioners or anyone
CRL
else
covers much
would
worse than
actually
his
do
area.
anything
Well, no,
prior
for sure.
to the public becoming out.
I am an avid watcher of the civil rights Red Lawyer. I love his stuff. I love his coverage, and I love how much he manages to get done. Because he's absolutely right. There's a lot of things that basically go unresolved until him and his community fucking start poking buttons and like, hey, you need to take care of this, and then they take care of this because they know what the outlast and backlash would be if they could
outraged. Rather, the environment around there was apparently so bad that the deputy who did this complained about and apparently received compensation for his broken Oakley sunglasses that unfortunately were broken when he violently attacked this man in violation of the Fourth Amendment. You may ask, what about this incident violates...
I'm sorry. It's the fucking what? His sunglasses were broken. How did... I can't even, like, what the fuck?
Of the Fourth Amendment. You may ask, what about this incident violates the Fourth Amendment when I see taser videos all over the place that don't look a whole lot different? Illinois is in the 7th Federal Circuit, so we look there to the case law, which is similar to other circuits. It says tasers are considered a significant level of force. Officers may not use significant force, such as the deployment of a taser, on non-resisting or passively resisting suspects. The 7th Circuit has also made clear that police officers can't just use tasers as a tool of convenience to just seize somebody rather than physically attempting to seize them first where there's no danger or immediate safety threat to the officers. In Lewis versus Downey, the 7th Circuit said that the tasing of a jail inmate with no warning who was not threatening the officer is excessive force. Here, the deputy even wrote in his report that he didn't give a warning prior to tasing this individual, who had no way of knowing he was under arrest, who was not told he was under arrest, just saw him and tased him. And that was actually in violation of their apparent department policies. According to the Union County Sheriff's Department Policy Handbook,
okay, look at that. According to the Union County Sheriff's Department Policy Handbook, an explicit verbal announcement of the intended use of a taser shall precede the application of a taser. So they're right there by itself. Should be case closed. Just for this station's policies.
Presumably, this deputy was given a copy of and at least reviewed in his years on the force there, said that explicit verbal announcement of the intended use of a taser shall precede the application of the taser. So you have to give a warning first. This officer violated his own department policy. The policy further provided that the fact that a person is fleeing should not be the sole justification for the use of a taser. And that was the only justification given by the deputy in this case.
Oh my god, are you kidding me? Wait a minute, let's look at that again. The policy further provides that the fact that the person is fleeing should not be the sole justification for the use of... Dude, did this guy did he, like, fucking read even his station's policy handbook? Because this is, like, come on, dude.
The use of a taser. And that was the only justification given by the deputy in this case.
It
also,
absolutely was.
Union County Sheriff's Department Policy Handbook further provided that even if otherwise authorized, the use of a taser should not be used against individuals who are known to be or obviously are medically fragile. Indeed, the 7th Circuit has cited I believe the 9th Circuit in stating that people who are known to have mental illness should not be treated like they are violent criminals. And
I am in the 9th Circuit, and I can confirm this is indeed what the 9th Circuit states.
Significant force such as tasers should not be used when there are multiple officers around and no immediate safety reason to use a taser. So this is, as they would call it, a bad tase. They violated their own department policy. There's not much of an argument there, in my opinion, that this violated the Fourth Amendment. All right, let's get to the settlement. As citizens, our only recourse for the government violating our constitutional rights that we can prosecute ourselves is to file a Section 1983 lawsuit in federal court. The only thing we can get there is money. We can't just directly get anybody fired or disciplined or anything like that. Hopefully those things happen as a byproduct, but all we can do, the remedy that Congress gave us, is a monetary award in an amount ultimately determined by a jury. This case settled before getting to jury trial, with both parties anticipating what a jury might do. That means these cases are always fact dependent, including on the estimation of whether or not a jury is going to be sympathetic with somebody with a long history of meth addiction, because a lot of jurors out there are just going to say, well, F around, find out. This was litigated in the Southern District of Illinois. No idea what the jury pool is like
thank
there,
you for so
but
much
the
for the
amount
5.
that both parties agreed on was $58,000.
There we go. Something tells me the guy in charge says one thing in the book, says something else, and they go with the guy in charge. Yeah, that's there a lot. Here's what happens: they go over the handbook and they're like, but you know, this is that. There's justifications and there's officers and people in positions of authority that have no problem bending the rules of the policy, right? So that happens.
$1,000. So let me know in a comment what you think. Is that too much? Is that
very
not
cool?
enough?
Very cool, though.
These cases are very difficult. We have to take the wins where we can get them. Here, the officer is no longer
what did he say?
policing that
What did he say?
What you think, is that too much? No idea what the jury pool is like there, but the amount that both parties agreed on was $58,000. So let me know in a comment what you think.
All right, so TP Ravenfire was correct. He went over, but he still was correct. I'm sure his hospital costs were more. I don't know, it depends. I'm sorry, I just realized. I just used the classic "it depends." Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay, so this one is a fun one that I've been waiting for. And it's cool, it'll close out the hour, and then we have a few more after this. But this is from Legal Bites. And it says, new Scummy Logan Paul text sinking his lawsuit against Coffeezilla. Lawyer explain. So let's go ahead and see what is going on.
In a development that is sure to surprise literally no one, the public officially has evidence that Logan Paul is a scumbag. The evidence comes in the form of text messages exchanged between Paul and his friends about his true motives in suing Coffeezilla. These text messages were just revealed by Coffeezilla in a recent legal filing in the defamation case that Logan Paul filed against him for statements that Coffeezilla made about Paul's alleged CryptoZoo scam. Specifically, Coffeezilla is trying to have the case transferred from federal court in San Antonio to federal court in Austin, where the case can be more closely litigated with the class action case filed by the alleged victims of the CryptoZoo fiasco. And it seems like the ultimate goal there is to potentially have these two cases consolidated.
Okay. Oh, thank you so much, Jordan Brown, for the 5. That taser rule just reminded me of a female cop who yelled taser 3 times. But reached for her gun on her belt in the— oh no! No way! Oh, Jesus Christ! That's not— you can't— fuck! No way, Baser! So, Kiss Alice, so glad to hear you're Ryzen 9800 X3D candidate. Have you installed it yet, or is it, in the process?
Consolidated. And so as part of that request, Coffeezilla attached some very interesting text messages that confirm that Logan Paul is a self-described petty billionaire who filed this lawsuit basically just to destroy Coffeezilla. And the thing is, this is exactly the kind of thing that can kill a plaintiff's case when it ultimately goes to a jury. And in this video, we're going to talk about why that just might happen here. Let's get into it.
Good. I'm glad, because I was getting a little worried from some of the filings that I was reading in that case, where like the judge seemed to be taking Logan's side and shit like that. So I was starting to get a little worried.
Okay, so it's been a while since I talked about this whole CryptoZoo liability saga between Logan Paul and Coffeezilla. I won't go into every single detail in this video. If you are brand new to this case, I have a whole playlist linked in the description below.
Rigo, thank you so much for the 5. He says, I think Donut Operator covered that video that Jordan mentioned. Yeah, I'll have to look at it. Or if you could link it in the Discord in video suggestions, that'd be great.
That you can go to for all the background details. As a brief breakdown, a couple years ago, Coffeezilla came out with a 3-part video series on YouTube about Logan Paul's NFT project called Creetosis. In it, Coffeezilla told the story of the failed project from the perspective of the people who lost money
we know a lot
investing
about this.
in it. And as is often the case with the videos Coffeezilla makes regarding failed crypto projects, the essential conclusion of the series was Logan Paul scammed these people out of their money. The series blew up, and as a result, Logan Paul threatened to sue Coffeezilla for defamation. Then he backed down and pseudo-apologized, and then pledged to kind of pay back all the people who lost money in the project, and even thanked Coffeezilla for bringing all of this to light. This pledge even included a whole plan he said he was putting into place to systematically make this happen. But then months went by and Coffeezilla checked in again and saw that people had yet to be paid back. And in the meantime, Thomas Carker, also known as Attorney Tom on YouTube, good guy by the way, filed a class action lawsuit representing the alleged victims of the Creetosis project, alleging, among other things, fraud. That case is called Don Holland v. Creetosis Inc. et al. Some time after that, Logan Paul decided to sue Coffeezilla for defamation after all. Now, something that was always peculiar to me was the timing of Logan Paul's defamation lawsuit against Coffeezilla. You see, in most, if not all, jurisdictions in the United States, a defamation claim has to be filed within 1 year of the publishing of the statement that gives rise to the defamation claim. Otherwise, it gets barred.
Okay, there you go. Big time, yeah. So she's not wrong. That's in most cases regarding defamation. You gotta follow that shit within the first year. You can't just sit on that for a number of years and go, oh yeah, it hurt me. Well, then why didn't you act sooner? That's pretty much the that's the thinking go with that statute of limitations.
By the statute of limitations, and that's
Sir, I paused to say what she just said. I'm so sorry. Okay, mercenary for the Duke. That entire Paul family is a cursed bloodline, yeah. How can it be defamation if it's true? Okay, look, that's also another good defense, obviously. But the problem is Logan Paul filed in the 5th Circuit District, I believe, which is Texas. And Texas is one, the 5th District is one of the only districts in the United States that doesn't have anti-slap statutes in place. So, Logan Paul is in the district and filed in the district, the only one that he can actually do the same. Because I guarantee you most every other district in the United States would slap down this lawsuit over anti-slap statutes.
Definitely true in Texas, which is where these cases were filed in federal court. And looking back, Coffeezilla's original 3-part Creetosis series was published in December 2022. Meanwhile, Paul waited until June 27th, 2024 to file his defamation claim.
Are you kidding me? 2 years? No way. Dude, there's no fucking way. Get out of here.
A year and a half after Coffeezilla basically...
Well, yeah, okay, 1.5 years, fine. But I count that more towards 2 years, but I'm rounding. But yeah, 1.5 years. Come on.
Throttled him in the public sphere. This means Paul couldn't sue over the original YouTube series. He had to find other more recent statements that Coffeezilla made about basically the same subject and sue him over those. And I've got to say, of the 3 statements that Logan Paul identifies in his complaint that he says are defamatory, 2 of those actually make it into the lawsuit basically by the skin of their teeth under the statute of limitations. The first was on June 29th, 2023, when Coffeezilla posted on X, Logan Paul really is the type of dude to thank you when you expose a scam, then block you when you remind him to pay.
Logan Paul and Coffeezilla both don't live or operate their businesses in Japan. So why would he file in Japan?
Yeah. Then the second statement was on June 30th, 2023, when Coffeezilla posted a video to YouTube titled Logan Paul's Scam Isn't Over. And the third statement is another YouTube video which Coffeezilla published on January 5th, 2024, titled Logan Paul's, quote, refund. So those first 2 statements were literally like 2 or 3 days away from expiring under the statute of limitations before Paul filed
That's
his complaint for defamation.
You're
Anyway, the
such
gist
a-
of these
hello.
statements is
Hey,
Coffeezilla
Lucifer.
called Logan Paul a scammer, and Logan Paul says that he's not a scammer, and also says that Coffeezilla knew Paul wasn't a scammer because he had seen behind the scenes evidence that Paul was really a good guy who was just trying to do his best, man. Anyway, there's always been this weird question. If Paul was so animated about this whole defamation claim, why did he wait to file it a year and a half after the story originally blew up in his face? Well, in his recent filing where he's requesting a transfer of venue, Coffeezilla has a theory, or at least maybe his lawyers do. I'll dive into the details of that theory in just a second, but let me first explain what this transfer of venue motion is, because that context helps to introduce this other theory and also gets into what these whole text messages are all about. So Coffeezilla's motion is, like I said, asking to transfer the venue of this lawsuit from San Antonio to Austin to be litigated with the class action case, and so that the other court can see if maybe the two cases should be consolidated together into one case. And then in the same motion, Coffeezilla is also asking the court to stay the case until a decision has been made about whether there's enough overlap to transfer it. This means he's asking to effectively freeze the litigation in the case until that decision has been made. And the main reason for asking for this is because he says there's enough overlap between these two lawsuits that it makes sense. It saves everyone involved, including the court, both time and money. He essentially says we're using a lot of the same witnesses, a lot of the same evidence, and there's a question that needs to be answered in both cases, and that is, did Logan Paul defraud the people who invested in CryptoZoo? More specifically, this question is basically the ultimate question that needs to be answered in the class action case, and it's a foundational question in the defamation case. It's foundational in this case because Logan Paul is essentially suing Coffeezilla for calling him a scammer over the whole CryptoZoo saga. And if you're familiar with defamation, you know that truth of a statement is an absolute defense to defamation. So if it turns out that Logan Paul,
at least in the
fact,
good old United States of America,
/ scam all of these CryptoZoo investors, and a court effectively concludes that, whether it's a judge or a jury, that conclusion effectively cuts Logan Paul's defamation claim at the knees. So Coffeezilla is saying, let's litigate these cases together.
Oh my gosh, Rico, thank you so much for the fine Elfpire gift membership.
Now, I will say that is a pretty good argument. Courts like to be efficient.
I was gonna say that is a good argument for a change of venue, especially if one of the foundational questions of the defamation lawsuit is also one of the main questions that needs to be answered in the class action lawsuit. I think that's extremely appropriate. James Moore, Eric Bright, Zim the Fan, Joel Doe, and TC Bob Ree, welcome to the membership.
See the same case or issue get relitigated if it doesn't have to. So we'll see what the judge says on this whole issue. Anyway, so back to Coffeezilla's theory or theories on why Logan Paul is actually suing him for defamation. In this recent filing, Coffeezilla basically says that the real reason that Paul filed this defamation claim isn't to get compensated for being defamed by him. Rather, it's to do two improper things. The first is to try to get discovery on this other CryptoZoo class action lawsuit through Coffeezilla when everything else in that case over there is otherwise stayed. It's basically frozen. I'll explain that in just a moment. But the second improper thing is just to be a
Wait a minute, you cheeky little fucker. No way. Oh my god, I'm so sorry, Legal Bites. Jesus, that pause. Hold on, we're gonna... There we go. Head scutter, I'm sorry. I couldn't do that. I could have... But, okay, that actually makes a lot of sense. So if everything in the class action lawsuit is currently just stayed, he would be able to get a lot more information probably through Coffeezilla, through Discovery, because they're in the same venue now. So that's some dirty-headed little fucking shit roll. Yeah. Like, wow, okay, let's see where this goes.
Any billionaire using his massive wealth to essentially bankrupt Coffeezilla through litigation. Now, these two arguments fit together.
Thank you so much for the 10. Not a problem at all. Spread the memberships between you and the gold mindset. And with LM, I'm giving a gift for the shower of gold. Thank you so much.
With this motion to transfer venue, because they both have to do with economy and efficiency of litigation. Essentially,
I do. Okay, I do. Okay. You know what? That's fair. That's fair. If I do another pause, that's crazy. With her face, I will honor the correct feed.
if the court agrees that there's enough overlap between these two cases that it makes sense to put them together in some form or another, it really helps if Coffeezilla can also show that Logan Paul has basically been a bad actor in filing this lawsuit in the first place, and that Paul's bad acts have been to intentionally make things less economic and less efficient.
Alright, the JP Raven fire, you bloody tosser. Don't you be telling me what I am.
Because that makes it less economic and less efficient for everyone, including the courts. Okay, so let's dive into that first improper purpose that Coffeezilla says Logan Paul has in this whole litigation. That's the improper discovery purpose. Here's what's going on. In the class action case represented by attorney Tom, multiple defendants have filed motions to dismiss the case, including Logan Paul himself. And so in the meantime, the court has stayed all discovery in all proceedings until they've decided on those motions. That means everything in that case is frozen in time, and no one is allowed to do really much of anything until the judge makes a decision on these motions. And Coffeezilla says Paul, however, wanted to take matters into his own hands to obtain discovery. Before Paul filed this suit against Coffeezilla, he admitted in a pleading in the Holland case, the class action case, that he intended to obtain discovery from Coffeezilla. And then Coffeezilla includes essentially a screenshot of one of Paul's filings where he says Mr. Paul intends to seek third-party discovery from Coffeezilla on an expedited basis. And then Coffeezilla says Paul did just that. Ultimately, Paul decided to avoid the hurdles of obtaining permission to conduct third-party discovery in the Holland case and instead filed this suit against Coffeezilla. And now this is a very interesting prospect.
I'm sorry, look at the doggo. Look at the doggo in the corner. Look at him. Like, he's so cute.
Most of all, this is interesting because Coffeezilla filed this whole motion immediately after his side won on a fight over whether Logan Paul could access communications between Coffeezilla and attorney Tom. Let me just highlight this for a second so that it's clear. Logan Paul was demanding to see the communications between Coffeezilla and not any of the plaintiffs in the class action case, but attorney Tom, their lawyer. Let me tell you, in litigation, I guess it happens, sure, but it's pretty unusual for a party's attorney to get discovery requests over a case that they are litigating. Because there's usually not much that the attorney is doing or communicating that is going to be accessible to the other side. And here, Logan Paul was wanting the communications between Coffeezilla and attorney Tom about the class action case. I'm not saying Logan Paul was trying to pierce into attorney Tom's litigation strategy, but I'm also not saying that Logan Paul wasn't trying to do just that. I will say...
look. That sounds... I mean... Jesus. If it walks like a duck, if it talks like a duck, if it quacks like a duck, it's probably a moose. Don't you fucking fight me on it. Oh shit, I went too far. Hold on.
There is enough similarity between the two cases that it warrants putting them together. Now then, we turn to the fact that Coffeezilla is also essentially arguing that Logan Paul is
you are correct.
Intentionally trying to weaponize the legal system to bankrupt Coffeezilla. This would be another reason to put this case together with the class action cases. That was a cat.
What was that?
As I said, courts don't like to see inefficiencies in litigation in general, but they also don't like seeing that when one side has significant resources that the other side doesn't, the wealthy side is unfairly using those resources to weaponize the litigation process without a legitimate reason. And so that's where all of these new texts come in. Coffeezilla says that in addition to scheming this backdoor into the class action case,
and when those ducks talk, they ask, hey, got any grapes?
Logan Paul filed this case to use his billions of dollars to destroy Coffeezilla in retaliation for making him look bad and to serve a message to anyone who might criticize him. Specifically, he says, Paul is also using this lawsuit to punish Coffeezilla, whom Paul perceives as his online nemesis, and make him a cautionary tale to other critics.
It's like a little gnat. It's like a little fucking annoying gnat, and it bothers me. He won. He got to me, bro. He's the most formidable opponent I've had. I'm not kidding.
Paul's own messages with friends and associates explicitly confirm his motive. And then Coffeezilla attaches a bunch of text messages that they got
No, he can't. I just mentioned this earlier in the stream, but the Fifth Circuit is the only one, because he's filed in Texas, but it's the only district court that doesn't have anti-slap statutes. So, like, literally, he's in the only place in America that he could file where, no, this can't get slapped down with anti-slap.
Paul's phone. First, there's this. Logan Paul says, lawyering up, suing this MFer into the ground. Then his friend says, then everything will come out, court docs public. Then Logan says, so everyone will see what happened for better or for worse. And just pausing for a moment to note the irony in that they are talking about everything coming public. Maybe they didn't realize that that included these text messages. Anyway. Then the texts go on, where the friend says, to let others know it's not worth coming at you, and there's a price to pay. To which Logan responds, that's the idea, need to shut it down. Then the friend continues, public humiliation is always more effective, and Logan responds, totally agree. And then Coffeezilla says, Paul also admitted that he's suing him just to make his life difficult. And he says, Zilla will pay one way or another. I'll make sure of it. And even when Coffeezilla says one of Paul's friends tries to talk him out of the idea of spending time trying to punish Coffeezilla by stating, bro, you're a billionaire, Paul responds with, a petty billionaire. And finally, Coffeezilla says that Paul even admits that he just wants to make Coffeezilla suffer along with anyone else who feels had wronged him. And here he attaches text where Paul says, I want people who wronged me to suffer while I continue getting wins on their grave. So about this whole message that Paul says that he wants to send out to the public to make people think twice about criticizing him. If I understand the internet, as I think I do, I'd say that the internet is likely to respond to this kind of bullying tactic with something along the lines of, I'm not leaving! But you know, these texts aren't just bad in the court of public opinion. They were introduced here to show the judge that Logan Paul has admitted multiple times over that he has both the desire and the resources to destroy Coffeezilla, and that this poses a risk to the efficiency of the economy of the case to everyone involved. But if this case does end up going in front of a jury, these texts can also serve the purpose of sinking Paul's defamation case. Let me explain. In any civil case that actually goes to trial, the plaintiff basically has to testify. There's no rule saying that they do, but it's incredibly difficult for a plaintiff to successfully turn to the jury that is made up of people who are basically getting paid pennies on the dollar to be there, and to ask them to make the other guy hand over money to him, especially if the plaintiff isn't even willing to testify in the case himself. Now, are there cases where a plaintiff has won under those circumstances? Probably, but I would never, ever recommend.
Look, is that a good one? That's an almost good one. I'm gonna carry it. Hold on. Here, this is just for you, JP Ravenfire, who called me out for my hypocrisy. That I would dare do this to men I react to, but not women. So here you go. Wait, what? Then there you go.
Recommend it because it makes your case so much more difficult. So basically, if this case goes to trial, Logan Paul is almost definitely testifying. And one of the biggest things that juries want to hear directly from the plaintiff is, in your own words, why are you suing this person? So one of the first questions Logan Paul's lawyers are likely to ask him on direct examination is, why are you bringing this lawsuit? And his answer likely would be something like, oh, he harmed my reputation, this has affected my whole life, and on top of that, he hurt my fifis, etc., etc. But then...
My fifis, But then, and this is exactly right, because then what happens is on Cross, holy shit, on Cross, Coffeezilla's attorneys get to destroy that testimony with his own words obtained through discovery, completely impeaching his entire character and everything. So, like, yes, it's great. These are like nice little nuclear bombs to drop if this trial goes to, if it goes to jury.
And this opens the door for the defense to come up on cross-examination and say, let's talk about the real reason why you're suing Coffeezilla. And then they introduce these text messages to rebut his prior testimony on the subject.
There
and the
you
thing
go.
is, depending on who makes up the jury, the effect of these
Thank you
texts
for the
can
two.
range from mildly bad to really effing bad. To explain why, let me take a step back first to give a little bit of context. Now, at the end of the day, what the jury will care about most, of course, is whether the evidence supports the claims of one side or the other. Juries on the whole tend to be pretty fair and objective, and they tend to care about the right things. And looking at this case, I haven't seen the evidence, and I would imagine that not many people have at this point. But looking at the actual claims and the arguments back and forth, a good portion of this is likely to come down to what Logan Paul knew at various times throughout this project, and what Coffeezilla knew at various times throughout his investigation into the project before publishing his statements about it. And that might turn out to be a very nuanced inquiry. And in cases that are decided on the margins like that, juries will often be looking for a tiebreaker. And something that is always at issue is how much the jury trusts one side versus the other. And when people determine how much they trust a person, they're often also deciding how much they like that person. And so the problem for Paul here is that these texts reveal what many people say is his true nature. And while this isn't surprising to many people to see that Logan Paul is exchanging text messages like this, the big deal here is in the fact that it's in the form of an objective receipt that the defense can just put in front of the jury so that they can read Paul's own words for himself and make the same conclusion that the internet has made for years.
This is great
and
ammo
let me just say one more thing about this. Don't get me wrong.
Wars.
Juries will often extend some empathy when a party is expressing some anger over their situation. The thing that I think will make this situation different, though, is the fact that he himself knows that he's a billionaire and that he's being petty. Now, obviously, people don't like to see pettiness in really any kind of a situation, but when one side can characterize an act as mere pettiness, but the other side experiences it as a potentially life-destroying act, it comes across as cruel. And that's a baseline before we even talk about Logan Paul being a billionaire and Coffeezilla decidedly not being a billionaire. It feeds into this narrative that already exists where Logan Paul is the selfish, immature billionaire bully and Coffeezilla is the scrappy independent journalist fighting for truth and fighting for the little guy. I mean, it's like we're talking about Marty McFly and Biff.
Oh yeah, I love
Biff
Coffeezilla.
were a billionaire. And these text messages just give Coffeezilla's side that much more ammunition for that narrative when it inevitably gets put in front of the jury at trial, assuming that it gets there, of course. But those are my thoughts. What do you think? Do these texts look to you as damning as I think they look?
Oh yeah. For me, absolutely. Like these are these are like the shotgun shells that are like incendiary or have the explosive charges in them. Like you're done. What, aren't all three was billionaires? No, sorry to say we're not. Okay, so this next one, I'm a little scared of. I was told that this is bad, but this is calm. Oh, Jesus Christ. The Verge PC build video, original file, 1080p, by Lance Striffer, but apparently, this guy did bad things. He did terrible things to this PC. We're gonna see what. Only because my my PC was just recently built. Everything's been running really well, by the way. But this was something my chat kept going, oh, you have to watch this. You have to react on this. So, that's what we're gonna be doing. And I can already see chat going, oh God, it's this one. So I don't know. Can't help hear him go. Feel ya. on you. There, you got one on you. Technically two, if you count that one. But here we go. Am I doing this right? Oh, thank you so much for the 5, Jordan Brown. Not even Kurt Cobain made as much of a mess of his hand case than Logan Paul just did. Yeah, that's fair. Okay, am I going to have to pray to I really don't know. This could be bad, though. Let's see.
Go TC or Managing Editor built a gaming desktop, but it's kind of out of date and it's definitely not going to hold up for Battlefield 5. So let's build a new one.
Okay.
You can build a gaming desktop for around $1,000, but I want to go all out, so I spent around $2,000. PC like this is going to be able to play most games at ultra settings. So what do you need to build a desktop? Well, of course, first you need a table. Preferably not metal. If it's going to be metal...
Sorry. First, you need a table. It just fell. Oh, Jesus. You can ask members of my chat. I put my PC on the ground. Literally on the hard ground, uncarpeted. Cross-legged, not giving a fuck. But Jesus, the first thing you need is a table. Yeah,
have an anti-static working surface layered on top of it, a thermal paste applicator, an Allen wrench, some tweezers to tighten up the wires, a Swiss Army knife which hopefully has a Phillips head screwdriver in it, and last but not least, an anti-static bracelet which is to protect you and the part.
Okay, so a question. An applicator. Did he just say a thermal paste applicator? Like this thing right here.
On top of it, a thermal paste applicator, an Allen wrench.
That, what the fuck is that? Am I wrong? I don't... Except I wasn't naked. Well, I was, but that's for another time.
And some tweezers to tighten up the wires, a Swiss Army knife which hopefully has a Phillips head screwdriver in it, and last but not least, an anti-static bracelet which is to protect you and the parts. These are the parts you're going to need, but more importantly, before we get there, we need to understand what these parts are doing and how they interact with one another. To better understand the parts that make up a desktop, let's try to understand them individually. The processor is like the computer's brain, a base of calculations that control everything the computer does. The motherboard is like the foundation, serving as a main structure for all other parts to be added to. It also allows the other parts to communicate with one another, which also makes it kind of like a nervous system. Graphics cards are responsible for rendering and processing visuals into what you see on screen. Our PC's power supply is of course channeling electricity, in that it adjusts and provides the right amount of energy to keep it running. Last but not least, RAM, or random access memory, and your hard drive are good examples of short-term and long-term memory, respectively. If you want to better understand what kind of computer to build, then first figure out what you want to use it for. A gamer might care more about a graphics card than, say, a video editor who might want extra RAM to assist with editing large files. If you're building a budget build for video streaming, say under $1,000, you want to focus on parts, like a Core i5 or Core i3 processor, that require less energy. They'll be less powerful, but then you'll be able to scale back the cost of several other parts. And if you need help choosing the right parts for your build, there's sites like PCPartPicker.com that help show presets for which parts fit together, which sort of part conflicts you might have, and where to find deals on new parts. We have a lot of boxes and a lot of PC parts, so it's best you unbox them, isolate the parts that you really need, place items into the case, and make sure that they all fit, and then start working. And now we're really going to start building by adding the motherboard in. Some notes about installing motherboards: they're really delicate, you should be really careful with them. And screw in with confidence, but also don't screw in too hard, otherwise you could crack the board. I chose Asus's Z370 motherboard for two main reasons. One, it has built-in Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, and also it has support for NVMe SSDs, meaning you can get really fast SSDs that are really easy to install. Pay close attention to a brace.
FBI, spare this live. Is he stupid? You just download more RAM. Duh, everybody knows that.
It goes at the back of the computer. You always have to make.
And what the? Did he just fail? He almost failed the quick time event. Can we watch that? Hold on. What's this? What's this?
Pay close attention to the brace that goes at the back of the...
Yeah, I'm so sorry. He straight up. That's it, like, he almost in front, but his tail, that's right, his back. Like, he almost failed the quick time event there.
Computer, you always have to make sure that you really hammer it in, because there's no screw. It really just has to go outside of the case and clasp onto the frame. And this is very important, because otherwise, you can't align the motherboard correctly with the holes. We're just going to start installing all 8 screws. So next we're going to install the RAM on the motherboard. I chose Corsair's 16GB
Wait, no,
Vengeance LED.
Why? Sorry. Yeah, that's not just real. I just realized I sounded like a crazy person. But no, you don't install the RAM first. Oh my god, you know what? I'm gonna ask my chat. Chat, what do you install first after installing the motherboard into the case? In fact, I'll make this a poll. No, I want you guys' opinion on this. I wanna see how many chats are in my chat. So here we go. What's the first part to install after the motherboard? And we will say CPU, RAM, what is the other thing? GPU. There we go. Let me take here. Or, you know what, heatseek. It's just for fun. Okay, let's see. Let's see how you guys do on that one. But that's why I lost my mind and started going, why? Because, yeah, you don't install the RAM first. Frickin' this jabroni.
RAM for 2 main reasons. One, it has LEDs and we do like lights in our gaming desktops. Secondly, it's pretty fast RAM. It's 2666 megahertz, I believe.
No,
so it's pretty fast. And this
guy
motherboard.
With paste? Yeah, with the paste applicator. Why did he have a thermal paste applicator? It was so fucking weird. It's all CPU, memory, NVMe, color on the motherboard before anything goes in the case. Justin Parrish is not entirely wrong.
It supports that speed, which is most important. Open the slots first, and just aligning the stick with the middle of the strip, not with the end, and just lining that up with the logo. So once you hear that solid clasp and you don't see the gold connectors on the side anymore, that's when you know the RAM is in. Step 3, we're going to install the hard drive, or in this case, the NVMe SSD. I chose this format of solid-state drive so that I could input it into the motherboard without having to worry about extra wires or putting it in a separate part of the case and just getting really messy.
It is nice.
This is from Kingston, and it's 480 gigabytes, so it's not a lot, but you can always upgrade this and swap it out.
It's 2 terabytes.
And it's only held down by 1 screw.
Yeah, so, okay. Thank you, FBI and Mercedes, for the 2 bolt. Oh, no, it's just a creature. I already said that. You saw the laser sight that the biopod pad. Damn you, auto-correction. Oh, it's okay. But did he download a car? Oh, by the way. Okay, so real quick, hold on. I'm literally even gonna do this. Hold on. Okay, there we go. Okay, just real quick, because you guys have to hear this. It's fucking hilarious. But did you know that the people who made the you wouldn't download a car, or you wouldn't steal a car, you wouldn't rob your mom kind of freaking... Remember those videos, those commercials that played in the beginning of movie theaters? Did you know that the font and the music chosen for that PSA was pirated? I'm not joking. It was actually fucking pirated. So that you wouldn't steal a car fucking bullshit PSA literally use pirated assets to make their fucking. It's fucking hilarious. It's that's so fucking funny. I mean, like, what the hell? That's so funny.
And the latch, so it's really simple and really straightforward. Speed for gaming is important when it comes to a hard drive.
Wolf,
you want files to write quickly
girl.
and you want games to load quickly, so that's why it's best if you use an SSD. Okay, so step 4, we're going to install the graphics card. I chose PNY's GTX 1080, which is overclocked, and so it's a pretty easy installation. You're just going to find the gold connectors, and you're going to line this bracket with the back end bracket of your PC case. Now, which lane you choose depends entirely on what other parts.
By the way, in order to even install my SSDs, you have to not have the graphics card in the motherboard, because the backing plate, the thermal protection plate for the M2 SSDs is like partially under the graphics card when it sits in the motherboard. So this is part of why you don't install these large, bulky components before your more critical, smaller, intricate components are installed.
I put in the system. I'm just going to pick the top one because the SSD is at the bottom and I don't want to cover it. I just think it looks nice. Click down. Take your remaining brackets and just put them in the spots that you haven't used. You don't have to screw these in.
Yeah, I didn't do that.
They get bolted down by the back end bracket. And your GPU is installed. Power supply time. I chose Corsair's 850 watt power supply because I need enough headroom for ray tracing GPUs when they come out.
For instance, on my case, what we did is, there's a back air. Jesus, it's a little warm. But there's a back part of the case, back plate, that you install the PSU in, and then you feed all the cables into the main chamber of the case. So this helps it look a lot less bulky in the actual business area of my case. Mercedes, thank you so much for the 2. Oh, I remember this video and him tossing the CPU cover. He don't want no.
And I don't want to have to upgrade it again. So all you have to do is take the brick and make sure that you align it with these little insulating pads so the power supply doesn't short circuit and come into contact with the rest of the system. So just take it in, slide it in nice and easy until you have a snug fit, and then shift it to the back and make sure it's right up against the frame. Now you just take the required screws and you tighten and screw in. So next step, we're going to install the CPU core. In this case, it's going to go on the top end of the case, and we're just going to have the hose hang out for a little while until we install the processor, which is going to come a little later. Always be sure to try to place it in the system first before you install it, because you can see it takes up a lot of space.
Why is the processor like the last thing you're doing, dude?
No pun intended, it fits in perfectly.
Like for real
and
though,
we're going
like
to start
hold on.
screwing it in.
Just turn them
There's
down a
nothing
little bit.
special about this screwing in process. They're just really long screws because they go through the entire frame of the cooler, and they take forever. So next up, cables. Every power supply is going to come with a big bag of Velcro cables. It's kind of daunting at first, so you always have to find the ones that are going to fit. In this case, you need to match
I love that how you said, I have no idea why the screen's here.
On the power
oh,
supply.
you know, the
Next
PSU
step is
doesn't
we're
need fucking
connecting the
airflow
power
or
supply
anything.
to the motherboard with a 24-pin cable. We're just
Oh my
matching that
God.
cable from the motherboard, threading it through the back, and attaching the 24-pin header to the power supply so that we can have one of the connections complete. The next few additions will be for the GPU, for any specific ports that the case has, for any lighting that the case has, the CPU
It's really
cooler,
bad.
anything else really. We're installing
He long screwed the
CPU,
radiator.
the heart of the computer
Why?
or the brain, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah.
So to do
Oh
this,
my
we're just going to
God.
remove the plastic covering that they put on the motherboard. We're just going to take this little plastic part out. We'll just toss that out of here.
No, what the
And now
fuck?
we
What
have
did
an
he just do?
exposed CPU holder, or rather slot, on the motherboard.
What the?
And we're going to use the CPU applicator. This is a
No!
special little part that not everyone may get, but this motherboard that we got from ASUS definitely does have. It's called a CPU installation tool. It makes it really useful if you want to install a Core i7 hexacore CPU. Yeah, we've got one, and it's an 8th generation chip, and it's ready to go,
fucking,
and it supports
I hate
overclocking.
You. I
So
hate
what having
everything
this
the
little
fucking
installer does for you is it's basically a brace that you can apply right to the CPU, and light it up with the triangles that you'll see on the bottom left corners.
Oh
And
my
this will make
God.
it easier for us to apply it to the motherboard and then
Oh
apply
my
it to the interface and then
God.
apply a CPU cooler on top.
Shut
And
your
we're just going to
face!
carefully lean it down into the system and make sure that everything lines up. And we're going to clasp
It's
down on
with
it
the
and we'll be good to
CPU
go.
only now! And it threw away the CPU
So we're about to
cover!
apply thermal paste to the CPU. Every CPU cooler
Okay.
actually comes with a bit of thermal paste already neatly applied in a circle around it. But
no,
it's usually not enough. It's good.
No, that's not, mine didn't. Mine fucking didn't. Oh my god, 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 oh my god. What the oh shit, no, we're not going through all this again.
Essentially PC building practice to have a little bit extra
Okay.
and layer it on top of the CPU. The final
What is he
portion
doing?
is
What
to
is
add
he
the
doing?
CPU
What is
cooler
he
to the
doing?
top
What the
end
fuck the-
of the processor. So you're gonna see that there
No.
are 4 brackets,
No.
or rather like
No.
screws in here with brackets and holders right here. And they're going
Oh
to
my
keep the cooler
fucking
raised
God.
off the processor,
What
but it's
the
also going to be close
fuck?
enough to actually physically come in contact with it, like basically keep it cool. Take thumb screws
Oh.
like this.
I
And
don't
just
I
screw
don't
them
like
on.
this.
So now that our internals are
You-
done, we're going to put
God
both the panels back
damn
on,
it.
which is the top glass, side glass, front glass, and of
Yes,
course
he
the
makes
back
thermal
panel
paste
where
too.
all of this fun stuff is
You
happening.
don't mix thermal
So we
paste.
fully built the PC, everything's put together,
Oh my
and we got to the
fucking
post screen. So
God.
what's next? Well, you need a USB flash drive with your Windows installation media on it, and of course a license key. So I plugged that up, installed Windows in a couple of minutes, installed a bunch of drivers, and now we have a fully functioning gaming PC ready to run some games. Right now I've got Arma 3 running at maximum settings, native resolution, which is 1080p HD, and it's running pretty smoothly. Like, I'm averaging 70 and 80
would
FPS,
love
and this
it.
is normally like a
I'm
very intensive
sorry.
game to run, and it's still doing a pretty good job.
I would laugh so hard if, like, his fucking computer just started fucking
So right now I'm playing League of
smoking in the
Legends.
background.
It's one of my favorite games. I'm actually playing against a bot, and I'm distracted, so I'm not actually doing so well. But otherwise, like, this is pretty much what you would see me do on a gaming computer. Test
Oh
stuff
my
out,
God.
and hopefully have really high frame rates like I am right now. I'm averaging 120 FPS, and that's only because I've actually locked the game to that frame rate, because I can get around 300 FPS playing League on maximum settings, which is a little bit absurd, and you don't really need that, so I've locked it. Building a gaming
my
desktop
gosh,
has
this
been
was-
a great experience.
It has it? Has it really? Because I don't think it has. Here's another 10. Oh, thank you so much, Jordan Brown. So that you can numb the emotional damage this bozo just did with his buffoonery with a visit to the liquor store. No, for real though, like, oh my god. Do I have to, is there anything, do I care about any? No, I don't. That's it. Okay, there, though. Okay, chat, I can say that I watched that fucking video. I'm not happy that I did. I'm gonna punish whoever fucking sent it originally. And, let's move on to the next one. What is this, 18 minutes? Or 16 minutes. Okay, so we're gonna check out this one. This is from Nate the Lawyer. Posted a week ago. But this says, woman falsely claims man who can't walk assaulted her, kicked in door, and ran away. Wait, no, we saw this. Didn't we see this on stream? I'm almost positive we saw that. Yeah, we did. We saw that, at least we saw the body cam footage of this. In one of the other FI Reacts. So instead, we're going to cap this off with Steve Leto. Well, actually, there might be another one. I'm not sure yet, but crap. Hold on. I know what I can do. Let's see here. It was very creative. Okay, tornado warning in Illinois. So for those in Illinois, please be weather aware. Max Velocity Severe Weather Center is live. So that is something that you, if you guys live in that area, you know, just you know, do the last thing. You know. Okay, when we get the IT case, I'm not sure. Let's see here. It's official. Oh my god! Hey, congratulations to Max Velocity, who I just saw post an hour ago. He will be graduating approximately 7 days with a bachelor's degree in meteorology. So that's pretty cool. Meteor, did you hear that? Our boys got a bachelor's degree in meteorology. That's pretty cool. Okay, so last one we're gonna watch is Steve Leto with Leto's Law. Let's see here. Then it is another one. It's fucking funny. What the? Is it? No? Yes? No yet? No yet? No yet, Faith. Oh yeah, I saw that. You know what? Actually...
Welcome once again to Leto's Law.
Yeah.
Here's Steve Leto.
I had a whole bunch of people send me this story, as you might imagine when you hear what the subject is. But I believe Caleb got it to me first from Ars Technica. Benji Edwards wrote it, but it was widely reported also in the Los Angeles Times and elsewhere. AI secretly helped write the California bar exam.
He does, which is why... I'm sorry. I'm laughing. Yeah, I agree. I can't believe that the California State Bar wrote part of their test with AI. Like, what the fuck?
Now, we've already heard what a wonderful job AI does when it's asked to write briefs by attorneys. And we've heard a whole bunch of stories about attorneys who got in trouble after submitting briefs to courts that contain hallucinations. And generally speaking, if your brief contains hallucinations and you sign it and submit it to a court, that's not a good thing. And yet people keep saying, Steve, AI is coming for your job. I'd like to let AI do my job for one day and just kick back and say, there you go, watch it. So the State Bar of California recently revealed that it used AI to develop some of the multiple choice questions on its recent bar exam, causing outrage among law school faculty and test takers.
Yep.
This comes after weeks of complaints about technical problems and irregularities during the exam administration, according to the LA Times. Now, keep in mind, you might go, Steve, why would faculty at law schools care? Well, when you have students who graduate and take the bar, you hope they're good enough to pass the bar. And when you hear that the bar itself was messed up, you're like, wait a second. It might make us look bad. Mad. The State Bar disclosed that a psychometrician created more than 20 of the 171 scored multiple choice questions with AI assistance. Now, I don't know about you, but when I hear that a psychometrician is creating the questions using AI, I don't even need to know or care what psychometrician actually stands for. That concept scares me.
Yeah,
apparently a
it has the term psycho
is
in
a
it.
person skilled in administrating psychological tests. So even though this is a test of knowledge, they got a psychometrician in there, and I guess that maybe there's a big overlap there. Maybe this is the perfect person to be doing this. But the psychometrician used AI to create more than 20 of the questions, and there were 171 questions on the test of that sort. Then, and there's more problems here, it's not just that. Then, another 48 questions came from a first-year law student exam.
What?
Now,
no, 48 of the questions?
They should know those answers. Yes, they should. That's why you don't bother putting them on the bar exam. They should have gotten through that stuff in their first year of law school, which presumably they did because now they're taking the bar. So it's kind of like if I said, hey, we're going to have a comprehensive exam for you to graduate high school. It's going to include some stuff from third grade. Really? Is that what we're going to do? Okay.
Is that really neat? 2 plus 2 is on my
Kaplan Exam
graduation
Services
exam.
developed the remaining 100 questions. Now, I don't know if you know who Kaplan is, but Kaplan is a company that sells bar preparation courses that you can take to prepare for the bar exam. So if they are, on the one hand, preparing students to take the bar exam, and on the other hand, developing questions for the bar exam, that seems to me to be some kind of problem. And don't get me wrong, I like Kaplan. I like the Kaplan organization. I've used them before. But the point is that do you really have them preparing the questions for the exam they're training their students to take? Okay. The State Bar defended all of this to the LA Times, saying that all questions underwent review by content validation panels and subject matter experts before the exam. I'm only laughing because I'm wondering how many psychometricians were on the content validation panels. The ACS questions were developed with the assistance of AI and subsequently reviewed by content validation panels and a subject matter expert in advance of the exam. The LA Times says that this revelation has drawn strong criticism from many experts. The debacle that was the February 2025 bar exam is worse than we imagined, said an assistant dean of academic skills at the University of California, Irvine School of Law. I'm almost speechless.
I took a few practice exams, and part of reading the law in the state of California, you have to take something called a baby bar, which is basically like a competency exam to make sure that you're even like of the level that would be required for you to be trusted self-study until you take the bar 4 years later. So yes, I've taken many practice tests for the bar.
Having the questions drafted by non-lawyers using artificial intelligence is just unbelievable. An associate professor at the University of San Francisco School of Law who specializes in bar exam prep called it a staggering admission. She pointed out that the same company that drafted AI-generated questions also evaluated and approved them for use on the exam. Now, when,
definitely not good for public
Caleb
image.
First told me about this, I said, to go full circle, you've got to let AI grade the exams. I mean, why not? The chair of the State Bar's Committee of Bar Examiners said the California Supreme Court had urged the State Bar to explore new technologies, such as artificial intelligence, to improve testing reliability and cost effectiveness. Such as means, like this or this or this. Doesn't mean you have to use them. And, they're trying to basically say, get with the times. But it doesn't mean you got to do it. The California Supreme Court told the LA Times it was unaware that AI had been used to draft any of the multiple choice questions until the State Bar's recent press release when the you-know-what hit the fan. The AI disclosure follows other problems with the exam back in February. Test takers reported being kicked off online testing platforms, experiencing screen lag and error messages.
That's kind of, again, this is kind of the thing with Lato's law. He's reading from the article, but we already know about the controversy surrounding the technical problems that many students had during the last California bar exam. What I was interested in is the fact that the California bar exam admitted to using AI to create part of its test. That's fucking wild. That being said, let's see here. I think... Yes, yeah, I think we are good. I am going to go ahead and end this a little early. I'm hungry and I want to make food, so thank you so much for reacting to content with me for the last hour and 40 minutes. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell as hard as you possibly can, and we will see you all on the next one.
You are coping the ceiling. You just can't believe what you're seeing. Yes, you're coping the ceiling. The truth it is all day, and now you are more than